From San Francisco, we flew out to the corporate event in Las Vegas. And to be honest, I do not remember a thing because apparently I have seen some pictures, but on the first night in Las Vegas, I fell down 51 or 52 steps in a hotel and cracked a large section in my skull. I spent about 1 month in Las Vegas in hospital, and then I was privately flown back to London because there was a thought I was going to die, and then spent another 7 months over here.
Hi, and welcome everybody, and we hope you enjoy this podcast called On the Tip of My Tongue. Now, I'm Rob Edwards.
And I'm Jonathan Hirons.
And this podcast is a follow-up to a film which Jonathan made about aphasia. So, what is aphasia? Well, it's a condition caused by some kind of injury to the brain, which is often, could be a stroke, or could be just falling off a bike. And it affects your ability to use language in all its forms. Speaking, writing, reading, sending texts, whatever. 350,000 people in the UK suffer from a debilitating condition called aphasia. Fewer than half this number suffer from Parkinson's, and yet most people have heard of Parkinson's, whilst almost nobody has heard of aphasia.
I'm Tom Ryan Elliott. Unfortunately, I'm getting a bit older. I'm just about to turn 35. And
Nothing, it's nothing.
and yeah, I live down here in London.
So, Tom, obviously we're on the tip of my tongue because we talk about aphasia, of which you have, amongst other things. So perhaps you could just quickly tell us how you got to this stage.
So previously, it all started during a work event back, it's a long time ago, back in 2014. I was in sales, so was always out and about meeting customers and things such as that. And during a big work event, usually these yearly work events were held in London, but the company seemed to want to celebrate. And rather than being here in London, they decided that they wanted to go out to Las Vegas, which, was incredible. We were like, oh, we're going out to Las Vegas. This is going to be amazing. But because of that, with some friends, we thought rather than just going straight to Las Vegas, what we're going to do is we're going to go to San Francisco as well. And I don't know if you've ever been to San Francisco.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Oh.
So I remember all of that. I remember seeing, the fantastic, beautiful bridge, the island, the prison, all things like that, all the amazing, extremely expensive restaurants. It's not a cheap place to go. It's very expensive, but I would definitely go again. But then from San Francisco, we flew out to the corporate event in Las Vegas. And to be honest, I do not remember a thing because apparently I have seen some pictures, but on the first night in Las Vegas, I fell down 51 or 52 steps in a hotel and cracked a large section a large section of my skull. Yeah, so 51 steps. And as you can imagine, in Las Vegas, everything is sort of hard services. So yeah, then I ended up in total, I spent, I believe about 1 month in Las Vegas in a hospital. And then I was privately flown back to London because there was a thought I was going to die. And then spent another 7 months over here in London. 2 months, I believe, I was in a coma. And then the following 6 months, I was awake, which resulted in me having epilepsy and aphasia.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah, fun experience.
Yeah.
Remember anything of the event?
I remember San Francisco. I remember being out on the bikes. I remember going out for restaurants. I remember the food was amazing. I remember seeing seals. Yeah, apparently they just have seals. The food, was amazing. But yeah, I don't even remember the plane that we took to go to San Francisco. I just have seen pictures of me being there. And to be honest, I'm glad I don't remember any of it, because it was traumatic. I don't want to remember any of it.
No, sure not.
No.
I'm sure also, it sounds as though you lost memory before the event as well. Is that right? So there was a whole patch around your that day or 2 days or whatever it is that you can't remember anything. So you've ended up with aphasia.
Yes.
Also, you have epilepsy as well. Is that, you said from your notes that that's under control? Is it the
Touch wood,
epilepsy?
yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't, obviously, as pretty much saying this correctly, no one really knows anything about either of those. When you say aphasia, pretty much everyone says, what is that?
Yeah.
It's almost the same with epilepsy. Although quite a few people know more about epilepsy than aphasia, but it's still known. This is where aphasia is quite, it's still not known as much as many other things. Like, say, for example, things such as, I don't know, see, cancer and things like that. Everyone knows about all of those things.
Yeah.
But these other conditions, people just don't know any of it.
We use Parkinson's as
Parkinson's. That's the one.
That's the one that we use.
Yeah.
Because we've got a fact about that there are more people have aphasia than have Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Certainly in this country and probably elsewhere as well. So this is something that happens all the time when we talk to whoever we talk to on these podcasts. It always comes back to the fact that nobody's really heard about aphasia and what it is and what it does for people.
You had a very intriguing wonderful phrase, I thought, in some of the stuff you sent us. Aphasia isn't visible. Well, we know that, yes, understand that. But it isn't trendy either.
Yeah.
I wondered are there some disabilities you think are trendier than others? Is it a stupid question?
Not, but I think nowadays there are some disability. Obviously, disability in total is not trendy,
Right.
But now things such as, especially in forms of work, some disabilities such as maybe ADHD or areas alongside that, in terms of that sort of area, then more well-known and noticeable in neurodiversity and accepted, especially in terms of work. Whereas, obviously, in terms of aphasia, it's much harder to get back into work if that's a process that you want to go back into.
I think this is the thing we wanted to talk to you about, because when we do these things, we want to try and fix on one specific main topic. And you obviously talk about the workplace. Yeah. So I wondered if you might give us a little bit of an insight into what it's like in the workplace for you and maybe for others.
So it was a work event, and due to that, I've been hidden away from work since 2014, with sort of the company not realizing that, even though, and I'm guessing you also know, we have the capabilities to do everything that in our head we know, and using tools such as all the tools that we can use on a computer, we can do everything we want to do. It's just speaking to people face to face is a lot harder. So we can still do everything that we need to. It just takes us a bit more time. But people who don't know what aphasia is can't seem to accept it. So I've been hidden away since 2014.
What do you mean hidden away? Sorry, like literally put you in the basement sort of thing? Or not talking to clients or anything like that?
Yeah, obviously not naming the employer, but just sidelined. Yeah, still technically with the employer, but not known or being noticed by everyone else. So still covered a little bit by them, but not able to go to the office or anything such as that.
So basically what's happened is that as your sort of career stopped with them,
Yeah.
Okay. This is what we're getting to. So you're with them, as it were,
Yeah.
but you're not progressing as a person in your career. Is that right?
Exactly. And I mean,
Okay.
at my stage of life, compared to, I think, quite a lot of people assume that when you have aphasia, a lot of people assume that, oh, it's only for people who have strokes,
Yeah.
and people who have strokes are more well known to be of an older age.
Yeah.
But it still happens to anyone at any stage of their life. If you are at sort of my age, I had it when I believe I was 24. You don't want to let your whole life just being hidden away by an employer doing nothing. So that's why I want to do something to progress within my life. And that's why I've moved forward to do things and step back into college and studied media, doing photography and videography, because at least that's something I can progress with personally, with things such as my camera and things like that. And yeah, progress with moving forward. So
Have you had this discussion with your employer?
I have, and yeah, they don't seem to really.
They're not.
No,
Is it that they don't know how to deal with it, or is it because they're not interested?
a bit of both, really.
Because you have legal rights, don't you?
Yeah,
I think under the Equalities Act, aren't they meant to take reasonable steps to try and
they are, and when
continue, in the way that you were, if
they
possible?
are, and when speaking to the American team, they are more open to people with disabilities, and they are even progressing on the disability side of things. But here in the UK, by no means are they. Yeah,
That's depressing. That's very depressing
very
for
much
you
is.
and everyone, people in your position. It's very
Yeah.
bad.
So I'm in the current situation of looking to leave and with some solicitors.
Okay.
It's it's a big organization, so they have been giving me a reasonable offer to leave, and will progress within my media
Right.
passion of what I want to do.
But it's a long journey for you, because we're talking about 10 years. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
you were incapacitated for at least a year, as I work it out. But you've been working with them, should we say, for at least what, 8 or 10 years, 8 or 9 years, something like that. Is that right?
Yeah.
So okay.
And if they're a big organization, you would think, I would think, well, it would be easier for them to adapt or to find another role for you if you have to slightly change your job a little bit or
You
something
would
like that, as opposed to a smaller outfit that might not be able to.
you would think that,
You would
and
think that,
they
yeah.
are part of the valuable 500,
Okay.
but they have yet to do that. Hence
So
the reason they've decided to hide me away.
Right.
You don't want to name names then?
No.
no, we can't name names.
Okay.
So, Tom, do you think that getting away from the actual employer, do you think, generally speaking, in this country, this is the problem for everybody? Sorry, this is most organisations are like this.
I think it is often the case that if you're disabled in general, there's a lack of understanding, are just considered different. And it seems that you talk to people who are disabled and they understand you're disabled. But if you talk to someone who isn't disabled, they are still very much confused. They want to speak more to people who are disabled, but they don't understand at all. And if you want to teach them more about disabilities, they're open. Some of them are open to that, but will they offer you anything to come and teach them? They may, but they want you to go in there for free. Many people do that, and that's the whole point of, how would I say? That's why a lot of people who try and do that to teach employers about learning about disabilities are quite, how do I say this politely?
We can cut it out if you're impolite.
No, that's why a lot of people who are disabled are ashamed about how people who aren't disabled treat us, because they want all the knowledge for free.
Right. So are you saying that the employer is kind of paying lip service?
Yeah, they want
to the idea of inclusion, and these are all nice sounding, correct sounding things that they want to do.
They want to learn about disabilities, and many people are open to teaching them about it. Oh yeah, can you come in and teach us about it? Oh yeah, we're not gonna offer you anything.
We don't pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're disabled, so you don't need the money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, to a certain extent, business is like that. Somebody will try and get something for nothing if they can get away with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't press your case enough, they'll just take it for nothing.
Get away with it.
I understand. Yeah.
You're listening to On the Tip of My Tongue, a podcast dedicated to raising awareness about aphasia. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding it helpful, please subscribe to it by clicking on the Support the Show link in the description. Thank you.
So we've got the picture of what's happening with you and companies and so on. So what do you want? What do you want to move on with? Are you going into your media side of things? Is that the plan?
Yeah. So one of the benefits of being disabled is the fact that you can go to things such as colleges for free. So when being hidden away by my employer, I managed to go to college for 4 years, or actually I think it was 5 years, doing both photography and videography.
Right.
All of that. So that means when I wasn't in the college, I was out going around London, taking pictures and videos, editing, and then next week learning again and editing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'd like to progress that into a career, but either within a company or doing it personally. So
it begs the question, of course, that if you go for a job in that sector rather than the one you're in at the moment, are you not going to find the same problems that you have with your existing employer?
I think first I was thinking that, but I think one of my main focuses would be towards the disability section, and one of the reasons why I do it, I would look to go more personally, manage it myself, is because then I wouldn't be led by a company.
Right.
Yeah.
You do a lot of social media. Yeah. Obviously, so that's how I found you, but which is good. So, are you thinking of building that up as a kind of as a career for you? Is that what you're aiming for?
Yeah, I think that's something I would like to do. Push that. I think
push that, and using the skills from the photography and the videography to bolster it up. Is that right?
Yeah. And it allows me to then contact other companies from that as how do I say, lead that as my main face, but then contact other businesses on the back of that.
Right.
So people can see me at the top of that through media, but then alongside that, talk to other businesses and potentially do their media.
Yeah, I saw in the little thing that you sent us, the sort of list of companies or opportunities that you saw for companies to basically to hire you. So that it's hard work though, isn't it?
What, in terms of media?
Well, no, of getting people interested in what you want to do.
Yes, very much so.
It's not, you've not picked the easiest way of doing it, let's put it like that.
No.
Yeah, but there you go. But you're doing it, which is good.
Can we come back to what happened when you went back after your accident to your employer? Am I right in thinking that you could, because of aphasia, because of epilepsy, because of this terrible injury, that you could no longer do the job you were doing before, or is it something you could still do with a little bit of alteration, or
My original role was in sales, so that was something with aphasia, no.
No, because of talking to people. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then when I went back in straight after hospital, I went back into sort of their events. So that was mainly focused more on charities. So that seemed more focused on something that I would enjoy. So
Yeah.
that seemed more focused on something that I would be more in line with. But the way I was treated, it's just an area that I would not want to go back to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you speak very well. I mean, it's not like, is that a stupid thing to say? I wouldn't necessarily know there was anything wrong.
Oh, well, thank you. I think this
the
is
same with John, I mean, I don't
think this is
feel.
one of the big problems. Well, obviously it's positive and negative. It's only when with a big set of
Stress.
people or stress or
Yeah, stressful
when
situation.
you're with, I don't know, about 5 people, or if you don't know the people.
And they don't know you,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is even
exactly.
more important. Yeah.
Or I don't know, when you've got a topic that you have no idea about, and you haven't structured it before answering questions, you're having to answer quick responses. That's when it gets a bit more confusing,
Yeah.
and you don't really know what to respond to.
But everyone would struggle with that when there's a topic you don't know.
Just picking up on that,
Yeah.
because my experience is that exactly like Tom's, is that Tom said on his little thing at the front that he sent us, it's better one-to-one, because when you're in a group, it's quite difficult to catch up. I'm talking about a sort of social gathering. If that was a business meeting, that would be tricky, I think. However good you are at covering it up, if you want to say that, I think you would. Eventually, aphasia would catch you out. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, even if it's, I don't know, a 20-minute meeting, you'll look fine for about 20 minutes or something like that, and then suddenly someone will notice, wait a minute, there's something
about
wrong
you.
Here. Yeah, something like that.
That's very interesting, isn't it? This is something we come up again in our podcast, is the prejudice that seems to surround a disability that involves language, as opposed to, I mean, you say and we know from, as a fact about aphasia, it doesn't affect your basic intelligence or your, you say yourself here very clearly, you think exactly the same way you did before. It's not like dementia or some terrible neurological disease that is attacking your memories and your education is the same, your memories, all your skills are the same after you've got aphasia. It's just the ability to access words, language fluently. And yet people seem to associate, because it is a speech disability, we find that people think, oh, he's lost his marbles, or he's a bit gaga or something.
Yeah.
It's a terrible prejudice that doesn't necessarily surround other disabilities. Parkinson's, we could come at that one. Well, I mean, if you're in a wheelchair, you're the same person, but you're in a wheelchair. But somehow when you've got aphasia, when you're struggling to speak a little bit, that somehow alters the perception of your personality and who you really are.
And it's not easy to explain it because no one knows what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everyone's different.
Yeah, true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Sometimes I used to go there. I don't really go there anymore, but to this group called Aphasia Reconnect. And that's when, personally, before then, I didn't know too much about aphasia myself. And, I'm very, to be honest, lucky that my aphasia is how it is, because when I go to some groups of people with aphasia, I'm extremely lucky that mine is at this level.
Yeah, so a high level. Yeah, I have the same feeling of that, because I've been to obviously a couple of groups, and there are a lot of people are a lot worse off than I and you and I are, because they can't speak at all, or they're very limited in what they can say, and it's everybody's got this. It's got a slightly different version of aphasia. There's no kind of, this is what it is. It's a very strange thing to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What about the future? Well, you've told us about what you want to do. Is this what you're doing as we speak? You're getting geared up to go into a new career. Is that the plan?
Yeah, I think I have many different routes just in case it doesn't go so well. So I'm looking at things such as I want to potentially do a buy-to-let property, because that's a kind of back sort of sideline, just so I have some more income on the other side from rent. And then, yes, my photography and videography, even if I don't, get an actual role, then I can just do it in the evening or at the weekend, because I get stock images and videos and they always sell.
And presumably you could find clients who'd be interested in what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
In that sort of sector.
Tom, is there anything you would like to say to the world? Not exactly that we are not pretending that we think the world is listening, but a few people are, we hope. Is there anything you'd like to say that we haven't touched on so far in this conversation?
I would really like to push more about aphasia, and that's why I think what you're doing at the moment is fantastic, because more people need to understand exactly what it is. Because whenever it's the case that I say, I have aphasia, no one understands. And to be honest, that's why a lot of the time I don't say it and just say I have epilepsy, because I think more people know what that is. And then if my speech and language isn't, how I say, it should be, it's more, I can say it's related to epilepsy, such as that, because it's still the case that just no one knows what it is. I don't know how we can push.
I've exactly say the same thing to lots of people, and they say, well, you just have to keep going.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing you can do. You just have to keep bang away until eventually somebody listens. And this is why we're doing it. And Rob's been dragged along with it. It's a kind of willing or unwilling.
Oh, willing.
Willing, yeah. Yeah,
so say unwilling.
Just to back up what you're saying, we just have to all of us have to keep carrying on and just doing what we do until eventually something will happen. And I'm sure it will.
Yeah, and I think it's reaching out to some bigger people as well that can sort of spread out the word more than possibly we can. I mean, have you spoken to groups such as, well, I've seen you actually on the website of Headway. Yeah. From Headway, have you managed to go into, say, for example, Parliament? Because when I was helping neurodiversity in business, we managed to go into Parliament and speak to some of the teams in there.
Right.
It'd be interesting to work with the likes of Headway or any of these charities who may be able to get access.
Get more access, yeah.
Yeah, would be able to get more access into Parliament.
Yeah.
Because that would be interesting.
We're going to do, in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk to the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a kind of stand-up organisation. They have a lobbying group,
right.
And once we've done the podcast, obviously we'll have some. Hopefully, we can talk to them about maybe there's something they can do. Also, I think it has to be people doing it at different angles. Everybody has a go at it in their own way. Headway have got another reason for doing it, obviously, because of people with it's not about strokes with them so much. It's more as the sort of problem that you've had. brain injury. I mean, this is what we're trying to do as well. In the background, I'm trying to get a hold of all sorts of people who may be able to unlock the door for us. Yeah.
Yeah, because as you were just saying, it comes from so many different areas. People can have it from all different ages, all different types of injuries. Yeah, it's from everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just older people. Great. Well, thank you, Tom. That's fantastic. We obviously wish you well and in your future work. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
And if there's anything that we can do, just let us know.
Yes, I will do.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
We'll speak to you soon.
All
Cheers.
Yeah, it's great to meet you, Tom.
Thanks.
And
Thanks.
you too.
Yes.
All the very best in everything you're doing. All power to your elbow.
Yeah, all the best. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Having just finished the interview with Tom, I was incredibly struck by him. He's such a bright guy and had this terrible brain injury, which has resulted in the aphasia and the epilepsy. But he's still got all his life in front of him. He's a very impressive guy, sharp as a tack, and yet struggling because of aphasia, I suppose more than the epilepsy, to get a decent job together.
I think also what struck both of us is that aphasia is too complicated for people to understand what it is.
That was very striking, wasn't it, when he said he would rather blame his epilepsy. When people started to cotton on to the fact that there might be something wrong with his speech, he would rather put it down to epilepsy than aphasia, just because people don't know what aphasia is. That's what he kept coming back to, wasn't it?
This is why we're doing this podcast.
Exactly.
Yes. And I think we'll find out more about Tom in the future, because he's someone who needs a career. At the moment, it's on hold. Yeah. And he's found some way with his creative side to try another way to kickstart his career.
Good luck to him, and we should come back to him.
We will.
Thank you for listening to this On the Tip of My Tongue podcast. We hope you found it helpful and informative. Now, if you want more help and information about strokes and aphasia, please go to stroke.org.uk, say aphasia, that's S-A-Y, aphasia, all one word, .org, or the aphasia page of nhs.uk. You're listening to On the Tip of My Tongue, a podcast dedicated to raising awareness about aphasia. If you're enjoying the podcast and finding it helpful, please subscribe to it by clicking on the Support the Show link in the description. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this On the Tip of My Tongue podcast. We hope you found it helpful and informative. Now, if you want more help and information about strokes and aphasia, please go to stroke.org.uk, say aphasia, that's S-A-Y, aphasia, all one word, .org, or the aphasia page of nhs.uk. This has been a Buffalo Lounge production. Please follow Buffalo Lounge on all the socials.